All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. So thankful and appreciative for you guys to join us, whether it's here live or in the future watching the recording. But super excited to be here. My name is Greg Partyka. I'm the Strategic Customer Success Manager here at Castify, and excited to dive in with you guys on how school districts are using Castify. I have a special guest here from all the way up in Burlington, Ontario, from the Halton District School Board, technology specialist Cameron Steltman, who go ahead and introduce yourself, Cameron. Thanks so much for joining.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. My name is Cameron Steltman. I'm the K-12 tech lead for the Halton District School Board. So that means I'm responsible for the rollout of new technology and kind of showcasing the technology that our school board has available. And how do we bring that technology to people in engaging ways while still operating within our budgets? And Screencastify has been a big part of that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. And really the focus for today is to talk about how districts such as Halton are utilizing Screencastify and video in general to, enhance their teaching. Really just going through how educators are using video for instruction, feedback, communication, and the ways that Screencastify fits really just into everyday classroom and district workflows. So with that being said, I'll go ahead if and get us going with questions. So, kind of going back in time, Cameron, would love to hear just how Halton specifically got started with Screencastify and what was like your initial goals or aspirations with the tool.
Yeah, that was before my time. So I was not there for the those kind of decisions being made when we started out because it was in our system, and then COVID kind of turned it into a thing that everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, we need this." The necessity being the mother of invention kind of thing. So it was a way for us to deal with COVID and engage with our students and teachers in like an easy to use format. And truly, the ease of use is was the whole thing. How do we get our teachers to build that immediacy? How do we build that social presence? How do we keep connection amongst our students, even during this time when we can't be face to face? We really wanted to humanize that educator and showcase, use the technology to showcase the real human, which I think is the one of the best features about Screencastify.
Awesome. And actually, I'd like to mention too, for those of you that have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. But thanks for getting us kicked off here, Cameron. I'd love to know if there were any challenges, either yourself in particular, or, in your day-to-day, hearing from other educators on, getting acclimated and comfortable with Screencastify, and how those issues were overcome.
Yeah, I don't find Screencastify as hard to use. I think the most hassle people seem to find is when students have to give it permission the very first time, or the fact that it's like hidden in the search bar, and they don't know how to pin it, which are all very easy problems to overcome. But I think for our teachers, that seems to be the biggest thing from keeping it from students' hands. Like, yeah, but we got to click through all these buttons, and because you're on a Chromebook that comes up every time, it's frustrating that they have to re-allow the microphone and re-allow the camera. So teaching, especially our younger students, how to do that takes some work up front, but pays off in the long run. For our older students, they don't really have any issues with it. As far as adoption goes, we saw a good uptick for COVID, and then now less so. Um, but our adoption is very, very organic. We haven't been pushing Screencastify as a tool very like visibly. We're not pushing it as hard as I think we can or should. And so now with this role that I have, part of it is creating a YouTube channel that creates videos about the technology we have, so we don't have to buy new stuff. And now we're putting out some videos about Screencastify. So we're hoping to see some uptake with that.
Awesome. Awesome. What kind of advice would you give? You kind of mentioned the different, kind of challenges between, older students and younger students, but really just in general, what kind of advice would you give to a new educator, either who's using Screencastify for their personal use or even how to, get their students acclimated with the tool itself?
Teaching students and yourself that it's okay to not be perfect in it. Every single word doesn't have to be exact. The editor is a great feature, but for a lot of these videos, we need to realize who the audience are and what the purpose is for it. So if there's a couple of mistakes, if you stumble over a few words, that's not the end of the world. I've had students who took periods and periods and periods of work to create the perfect video, but by that point we've lost the point. So really teaching that concept that, hey, I just want to get a snapshot of you. It's a chance to break down this barrier. I'm trying to get your learning and get everybody's learning all at the same time. And this is a way for me to see you as a person and less of seeing a perfect version. And I think the more we can promote that and showcase that feature, teachers will find it a lot easier to use it. Um, yeah, we just want people to feel comfortable being online. And what's great about Screencastify, if your students don't want to be on the screen, if they don't want their face, turn that piece off. It's no big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of workarounds. We love workarounds around here, but no, I think that's great advice getting past that first barrier. I even remember when I started using Screencastify, and obviously, I use it quite a bit for my day to day, but there still was that initial challenge or, a little bit of shock, getting used to seeing your face or the sound of your voice. It's a human emotion that everyone faces. So I think getting past that first barrier is a really good key to success.
And I was really good at the idea. I knew when I started out with my channel, I was like, it's okay, they're not perfect. But now I can't even watch the ones from September. I don't even want to see it because now, like, you just get better at things too. And that's what students will find too. As you're using something, you're going to get better, you're going to get more comfortable. And now I feel like I really do a better job of showcasing myself without looking like a complete incompetent as I feel like those first ones did. Now I'm just like, oh,
I've been there myself. I mean, I just started at Screencastify in September, and even in those couple months watching those videos back, I'm like, oh boy, what was I
yikes.
doing? But continuous improvement, always, always, always a focus. And kind of going into my next question, Cameron, what positive changes have you seen both individually and in your district with adopting Screencastify?
I think for me, especially when I was using it in the classroom, I really found that students were happy to see me even if I wasn't there. So like if I build a video on here's how to do our coding lesson for the day, because I know that they're going to code in small groups and it just makes more sense for them to have a video and work in that small group and listen to it. They were happy to see me there. If I'm away and I use it for supply plans, the teacher just press play. They see my lesson, they've heard my voice. I'm still there. I'm still with them. So you're maintaining that human connection, which again, I know I keep repeating it, but I just think that if we stay focused on that piece of Screencastify, that's what's bringing the magic there. So that creates some positive changes. Teachers are using it. Teachers want to use it, and I really think as we show, we're really going to push submit over the next little bit. And I think once teachers see how easy that is and students start to get comfortable with it, I think we're going to see a lot more uptake, especially with practicing fluency and reading and those pieces. It's a great way to like build a repository and see what your students are thinking.
Yeah, no, all great stuff. And I'd love for you to go in a little bit more detail on Submit. What kind of goals and aspirations do you have with your district in regards to that submit feature? Where do you want to see that go?
I just want them to try it. Like I think we've got 6,000 teachers, and if we could either get elementary or high school just using it, just trying it to see what they can do, I think that it's going to benefit them in the long run. Like it is a very, very interesting program. But I'll be honest, when I was in the classroom last year or two, I didn't use it. I knew it was there, but no, so I think we just need to find a way to showcase it to them or have an opportunity where it makes sense to just use it that first time. And then once they've used it that first time and they see what they get back, then we'll be able to go a lot deeper with it.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, no, the reason I ask is, Cameron, a lot of people still kind of think of Screencastify as kind of the COVID watch and record tool. And while will always be our bread and butter, there's other features out there too that bring benefit. Submit being one of those. I guess kind of going back to a couple questions ago, but what have you seen in the growth of Screencastify beyond just the watch and record? Like how have you kind of adjusted and pivoted in your classroom with some of those new features?
I really enjoyed the quizzes feature. And I think if I would have had the like, and I mean, I am the AI person at our board, so don't get me wrong. Like I do understand AI. I'm not the biggest fan of the AI features inside of Screencastify. I think the idea that AI can mark students' work without you being involved is a terrible idea. I just need to put that out there. Um, but I do think the AI quizzes and the quiz feature inside of Screencastify are so great. Like I can make a video that teaches a concept and it's just going to give some practice questions so they can get that direct feedback instantly on whether or not they understood the concept is brilliant. I really do love that. And in making those videos over the past few weeks, I really think that that's a useful feature for our teachers.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, totally understand where you're coming from, Cameron. I know every district that I speak with, on a daily basis is on a different wavelength with AI, and it's constantly, moving and changing. And let's be honest, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, whether we like it or not. But really just giving you guys and empowering, each individual teacher based on their own perspective or as a district with their policies and regulations and guidelines, just giving people the tools to actually abide by those things and to still, utilize, as you mentioned, a few minutes ago, that human element, that human interaction through video. So I appreciate you sharing your perspective on that.
Yeah, I just think the more we can do to, because with AI, it's there 100%, and
Mhm.
it's not going anywhere. We're going to use it, but how do we use it to make human connection stronger as opposed to removing it? And especially in education, where people there's less and less money, and if we do things that remove the human pieces that the teachers bring, the things that make teachers so special, if we create tools that remove that take that away from teachers, it just gives people the chance to say that, hey, we need less of them or they can do more. And the thing is, teachers work really, really hard. And I don't know
Mhm.
that they can do more. I think the tools that we're getting that are helpful, that build those human connections, that create that are vital, but things that allow people to say, "Oh, look, an AI is doing that for them. We can give them more work, or we can use less teachers." Is not an ideal thing.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely finding the right balance is super important. Um, I guess when speaking with other districts, like what advice would you give for districts that maybe haven't dipped their toes into the water much with video? What advice would you give for districts thinking of trying a screencastify?
I'd say you got to empower the power users, identify those leaders in your board or people in your board who you know could be good test cases that could showcase it. It turns out if we let those key teachers in those key schools start and run with it, they're going to be your biggest ally if it's a good thing, right? So when I'm finding a tool, I'll send it out to a couple and be like, "Hey, does this make sense to you?" Like, "I love it, let me try it out." Or they'll come back and say, "This doesn't really work. I don't think we should sell this the same way." So those people in the staff rooms, when they're like, "Oh, have you seen Screencastify's whatever?" If they're saying that every day, that's going to build the grassroots. Because even with my videos, which are 3 to 5 minutes long, I still struggle to get everybody to watch them. Like if people put in 12 minutes a week, they'd see every video I made and know exactly what was going on from a technology standpoint in our board. But that there's no way that can happen. Teachers are so busy, and they are more willing to try something if that someone either shows them directly in person or someone in the staff room's like, "Hey, this is incredible. It saved me time. Look at how it helped me do this." So I think empowering the power users, telling them don't be scared to just give it a go, because what they're doing is they're going to build that immediacy and that social presence with their videos. I wouldn't oversell the AI and the grading features. I would be selling the fact that you are increasing human connection, because so many teachers are worried about that, and fair enough. So we need to know that a video isn't forever as well. Like just because you made it, like I made one on Notebook LM at the start and I watched and I was just disgusted. I was like, "You are terrible at this." So I deleted the video and I made a new one. I was like, "This one's way better." And now I'm sure if I started back at the start, I could go through and do them all again, but it isn't forever. It takes you a little while to make a video, but not that long. You can replace them so quickly.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that context. And yeah, for those that don't know, Cameron has been spending quite some time refining his craft, and you can actually check him out on YouTube at Mr. Steltman. I've seen plenty of his videos, and they are wonderful and very engaging. So I'd love to know from you, Cameron, how does that YouTube channel in particular connect with your work in ed tech, and what are your personal goals and aspirations with it moving forward?
Well, at first I was just happy to have it. I was like, this is an incredible job. And how did it? And I was just surprised that someone was like, oh, you can just tell people. But my career over time, I teach teachers across the province in Ontario. I've worked for TV Ontario like during the pandemic. I've done lots. I have my master's in this. So it was a great way. Screencastify allowed me to create it, which was a great way to really make short, fun videos that I hope people find engaging and approachable that will lead to more buy-in and willingness to try new things, especially when they see me in real life. I'm not trying to seem like the smartest person. I just want to seem like a regular guy. And I think that's what Screencastify allows. They see me, they see my little video, they see those silly little cuts. Like he's just a nice guy who's trying hard to show us something that can help us do a good job. And like that, so that's the really good. That's one of the goals, and is to build that on-time PD for staff. We want them to be able to have something that's fun, it's adaptive, it's brand new. You're like, okay, this is the latest thing you heard about, and it's short. In less than 5 minutes, I can do it. Um, and so ideally, our leaders see it because, to be honest, the more I've talked to, it's like my nerd friends who are like, oh, I've been watching, I know exactly what's going on, and then they take it and they share it out in their schools, which has been great. But it's also given me a repository so that now when I go out and do sessions, let's say I'm doing a session for child and youth counselors, I can just take my videos that would be adaptable to them and I can build a slideshow around. So it's like a choose your own adventure for them. And there's like 6 different videos and they can kind of pick their learning in there. And that allows me to go when I go and do my presentations all across the board to really make sure that every learning is targeted for those people. Um, yeah, so that works out really, really well.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely sounds like there's been a bit of a waterfall effect with getting those videos out there, which is awesome, awesome to see. I guess my last question for me, for any, educator or tech coach or any individual that may be thinking about, you know, putting their own content out into the world, beyond the classroom, beyond their district, what advice just from your experience would you give them, as someone that's just kind of gone through it yourself?
Just have fun. Like you just want to be real. I just want to be real. I think there's enough people on YouTube who are trying to be like perfect and famous and any of that. And my whole thing is I just want to seem like a real person. It's that human connection that you can't get because we can't be face to face and I can't share my stuff face to face with people, but I want it to feel almost like it is. And so I think for anybody thinking that, oh, this would be a great way to do it, it is. And pull in those people that you know at the start. I knew I had 4 or 5 buddies who I was like, okay, I'll just take a picture of them and I'll AI them into something silly and I'll put them in it. And that's enough for them to want to watch it or enjoy it. And you're doing it. I do it for as I want to enjoy the process of making it as much as I hope that they enjoy watching it. So I put enough things in there that I find entertaining. I'm like, oh, and little callbacks for myself. Just like this is part of my job. I may as well have fun doing it. And then I think if that shines through in my video, people will are more likely to have fun watching them.
Love that. And certainly you got a fan in me, Cameron, so I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
your time there. And yeah, we have about 10 minutes to open up the floor for questions. Once again, I wanted to thank Cameron Steltman from Halton for being our guest of honor today. And I want to thank everyone that's watching either live or at some point in the future. But yeah, feel free to drop some questions in the chat. And like I said, we have about 10 more minutes here. Um, I think there's a couple starting to flow in. The first one is, Cameron, how do engage teachers that are maybe, a bit hesitant to record their own videos or maybe are put off by something, really just to get them to finally jump all in on that?
Turn their screen off. Just do it with just your voice. Build your lesson on slides first. Like, what are you trying to say? And make it for, or like the best day is like, you're going away at the end of the week and there's going to be a lesson and that you don't just want to leave a plan that, it's that like normal supply lesson. You want something a little bit. So if you're ready to try it, don't put your face in it then if you don't feel comfortable, but record your voice explaining what you want the students to do and put that into your slideshow and share that with your supply teacher and press play. You'll be amazed at how much the students appreciate that and actually engage with the content. They'll come back and be like, oh, did you like it? And they will have loved it. They'll love it even more if your face is there. Again, that's just one more step in that immediacy. But if you're not comfortable, don't do that yet. And once you get that feedback from the students, you're going to see that they want more and more. They don't need you to be perfect. They just want you.
Love that. There's a question regarding using Screencastify with third-party web apps, like Tutor and WordPress. I can take that one, Cameron. A lot more to come in our roadmap on those things. My biggest advice is to, like Cameron said, just jump in and start utilizing Screencastify. We're fairly agnostic where we can share that content with, anyone, whether it's through a link, a Google Drive, share with email. So regarding those third-party web apps, a lot more to come on that, but it was always we appreciate your feedback on those things, so keep that coming.
And embeddable, like for Brightspace, we have to use Brightspace for our high school students. You can just take the embed code and pop it into Brightspace, and your video's embedded there nicely.
For sure. Um, any other questions? Here's one. Can you share an example, Cameron, of how you've enhanced a specific classroom activity or a specific lesson with Screencastify?
Oh yeah, like I was saying before, and we on Friday afternoons in my classroom we do coding. So I would design the project, whatever I wanted them to make on Scratch, whether it be like a Magic 8 Ball or whatever. And I'd go through the project and break it down step by step by step, and it worked so much better, or they had to learn so much more if I gave it to them as a video explaining what to do without giving them the slides right away. So it forced them to watch the video, see what I was saying, and listen to it, and have to actually do that, as opposed to if I just gave them the slides with the snippets or the screenshots of the code. So what I figured over time is for the first half of the class, you're just stuck with that video and you can code it. And then with our second half of the class, you know what? Here you go. If you need it, you can go there. But they didn't necessarily like it as much, but it was a lot more work and it encouraged a lot more learning.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, coding definitely a very unique, kind of outside the box use case. Another one that I've kind of heard a lot recently from districts is podcasting. And I mean, podcasts are bigger than ever before, but not only with, you think of podcasts, you think you're, just listening to, the audio, but podcasts are more often than not in video form too. Like you can go on Netflix and see podcast recordings. So that's another one where I've heard districts kind of putting in, those types of programs and use cases and utilizing Screencastify.
I I just put it into the host and panelists, so I don't know if anybody else can see it, but there is a you tech tips with Cameron podcasting with Screencastify and Google Slides video just on that entire topic, which is so key too, because it really does highlight one of those features that I think is vastly underutilized, which is the export as MP3. It doesn't matter what's on the screen; you can export it as an MP3, and MP3s can be embedded into Google Slides. And that's a very awesome integration.
Awesome. Um, Another one here. How has Screencastify helped with diverse school communities in your experience? Cameron, feel free to take the floor first, and then I can kind of add on my 2 cents at the end.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. I was celebrating someone's question there. I was
No, you're
asking again.
good. How has Screencastify helped with diverse school communities in your experience?
Well, how I would like it to help is through that translate feature. I think that that's very cool, and I think if parent or if principals sent out their weekly newsletters as a Screencastify video, it would encourage that immediacy, but also the fact that they can do one-click translates for whatever languages they need would be a great way to encourage that. It's also great if you're in the classroom too. If you've got a student who needs something in a different language, that's a really nice way for them to be able to access the content.
For sure. Yeah, and you took the words right out of my mouth, Cameron. I was going to mention too, we've spent a lot of time today talking about the, teacher-student communication through Screencastify and through video, but there's a lot of good use cases for parent communication too. Even with our teleprompter feature, that can allow you to create a script, record those announcements, but then also send that out, and have those students or their families translated on the back end, makes for great, teacher parent communication, just to make sure everyone, is comfortable and knows what's going on in their school and in their districts. Cool. Any other questions these last couple of minutes? Um, Here's one that just came in, Cameron. Do teachers use Screencastify more for instruction or for feedback?
I feel like it's instruction in our board. I don't think we've quite moved to the feedback piece, but I think that's more elementary than high school. In high school, I would assume uh, maybe it's both. Um, that's a very good question. I would like to find more out about that, and that does seem like a fun potential video in the future. Is how we can really use it to build feedback that keeps the human right there for them.
For sure. Yeah, definitely, from what I've heard from districts more towards, middle school, high school, but definitely a lot of use cases for feedback. Especially as we transition into, what a lot of states are testing season in the spring, utilizing those assessments, those quizzes for test prep, but also to that submit feature as crazy we're already here mid-February, but as graduation years, students are putting together college applications, they're going through, interviews, utilizing that submit feature to help their preparation with those next steps even beyond the school and beyond the classroom as well. There's definitely some use cases to be had there. Um, Couple more here. Cameron, just from your experience, how long did it take to see meaningful adoption in your district, but also just you as an individual too? How long did it take for really that training piece until you really felt like you were, comfortable rocking and rolling with the tool?
I feel like that's what's so good about it is it doesn't take that long to feel comfortable. I started making videos and I also make videos every week for the courses I teach. So like I'll send out a video just saying, hey, one just to show me again to build that like, hey, your instructor's a real person. I'm right here. Here's my like, you know what I mean? And then so in using it there in 5 or 6 times, like this is so convenient. Like this is such a great way to showcase anything. Like it's a perfect shell. You fill the content in. So I think after 5 or 6 times, you feel like, okay, I can do the basics. And then last year I started doing the editor just because I wanted to see what it like I wanted to see what that looked like. And then so that did not take long at all. And now being able to insert little Canva cuts and music and all those pieces it's just adds on each time. But the core feature of Screencastify of making a very clear, concise video that showcases the human is easily doable and learnable in 1 or 2 sessions.
Absolutely. No, super happy you said that. And that's really something that we pride ourselves on is just having something easy to use. Obviously, there, our bells and whistles consistently being rolled out on our roadmap, but the core function, our bread and butter is that watch and record, which, even for me, joining the Screencastify team in, September, I was, amazed by how easy it was to kind of pick up and, kind of click for me. Last question before we close. What would you simply simplify if you could redo the rollout for, Screencastify or really just advice after going through it, for better, more efficient adoption in your district?
I would like to have been there at the start to kind of put it to the leaders first. I feel like we miss that opportunity sometimes in education because everybody's so busy. But if you know you've got a group of people who you can we have to use real classroom teachers. I was a real classroom teacher until last year, but it is a difference between being a real classroom teacher and working in the board office. They're just not the same job. You just do not have that same experience, and it's amazing how quickly you kind of forget all of those pieces of like, holy cow, I'm running from this to this to this to this. This isn't working. I even clicking one thing seems like too much. So I think if the more we empower those leaders we have so that they feel like, hey, we know you're working hard and someone else knows I'm working hard too, they will be your best advocates for getting new things in the hands of your staff.
Absolutely love that, and I guess I'll end on a shameless plug. I want to shout out the customer success team at Screencastify as well as our support team for those of you that are actively using Screencastify, maybe just getting started, or maybe even just thinking about getting started, feel free to lean on the team here at Screencastify. We're always happy to help with questions and use cases and examples and resources. So that was my shameless plug to close us out. But I really want to appreciate Cameron Steltman from Halton for being our special guest here. I want to thank everyone for joining today. And yeah, we'll close it there. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks a lot.